Welcome to Author Talk with Anna Mansager, and I'm here with Trumbull author Sheila Hageman, who has finished her book Beautiful Something Else, which is on Amazon, right?
And all those other places where they sell Barnes & Noble. I think it's all over the place.
Okay. So your book has a lot to do with like the universe telling people what to do and opening up yourself to the universe. Do you feel personally that way, and does it affect your writing a lot?
I think I do feel that way a lot. I'm also a yoga teacher, so I've studied a lot of New Age stuff and read lots of books about different ideas. And I definitely think that there's some power in opening yourself up to whatever is available. And I think if you have that, if you put yourself in that kind of frame of mind, that it can definitely draw things to you. Kind of like The Secret, isn't that what that book was called?
Yeah, The Secret.
That, and I think that is really powerful. Maybe not for like money, like, oh, if I think money, that's going to come to me. But I think definitely opening yourself to what can come, it can't hurt,
Yeah. So the power of positive thinking, basically.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And I think sometimes it's hard to do that. I mean, I suffer from depression, so I think I have a really hard time doing it, but I know I should be doing it. So it's something I do try to do.
Mm-hmm. And do you find writing is kind of therapeutic as well, or?
Definitely. I think, the first book I wrote was memoir, and I think memoir is especially therapeutic because there is that reflection process that you're looking at the past and you're looking at the present and trying to make connections between things. And so this was the first fiction I had written. So although I took ideas from things that had actually happened in my life, the whole idea of fictionalizing things and imagining what might have been is really fun and kind of therapeutic too, because you get to reimagine your actual reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So everyone's writing process is completely different. And, some people like to do it just by the seat of their pants. Mm-hmm. Some people prefer to do outlines. Mm-hmm. How would you say have you tried both, or is there one way you really connect with?
I think it's funny. For writing the fiction, I did kind of the opposite of what I usually do, because I usually kind of don't plan and I go by the seat of my pants. For this book, because I'd never written a romance before, I said, I'm really going to try to do it by the book, right? So I did character studies before I started. I wrote all their history, things that I knew wouldn't end up in the book that it was important for me to know. So I did that, and I kind of had an idea of a beginning and end, and I outlined what I think, like major scenes that I thought would have to happen and about the order they were going to go in. And so then when I actually started writing, I feel like it helps because you know a general sense of where you're going, and that does help. But then I'm working on another romance right now, and I'm doing it totally opposite, where I just started with an idea and I'm just letting it evolve, and I'm just like zooming forward with it.
So this was your first romance book. Was there anything that kind of surprised you about the process? Because romances, they can be very, a lot of times very formulaic,
right.
But not always. So, right. Is there anything that you kind of were surprised about in your own discovery of the romance genre, I guess?
I think that's a good question, because I wasn't a huge romance reader. I had started reading some, and it started out as a challenge between my friend Sandra, who's a writer also. We're like, we should just try writing a romance novel, because we're usually like writing such heavy memoir stuff. And I was like, I want to do something fun. Mm-hmm. So I started out with that idea that I wanted to do something that was kind of light and would just be about relationships. So I think by writing it, I did discover that I can write in different styles. And I think I've known that because I like trying different genres, and I liked it enough that I'm writing another one. So I guess I must have liked it.
That's great. I actually had never read a romance novel before I started reading yours. So,
that's so funny.
I had no idea what to expect, so that was kind of fun. Your characters are very real. I find that, especially the main character, I found her to be kind of funny.
Cool.
And definitely New York takes a big place in your book. Mm-hmm. And we are here in Fairfield County, so we're pretty close to New York. Would you say like the setting of New York is big in your life, or?
Oh, it was. I lived in New York City, so all of the places in the book, like at the very beginning, the character and her best friend are sitting in the restaurant on the Water. That's an actual restaurant in Stratford. So I used that, and that's actually where my friend and I were sitting when we had the idea to write the romance novel. So like I take little things from my life like that, and then I use it, because then I can have a real thing in my mind, and then I use it however I need to. The New York City, because I know New York City so well, it's easier to write about a place that you're familiar with, because you know the streets or you know the areas. So, and New York City is so exciting, so so that's why I chose that.
Mm-hmm. New York is really great for writers too. I love that place.
Do you think you'd ever want to live there?
Yeah, I do a lot of theater stuff, so
cool.
I'd be very happy.
Nice.
There, it's kind of expensive though.
I know. I had a rent-controlled apartment, and that's what you need to find. And I used to be in the theater too. That's why I was in New York. But yeah, you have to like have rent control or have a lot of roommates. It's such a struggle.
You should read her book, because then you'll know what restaurants to go to.
Exactly.
So, how long did it take you to write this book?
This book took me, I would say, about a year and a half. I started one in the summer, however many years ago, and I guess like a year and a half. You know, I really, when I write and I'm working on a book, I like to set a certain amount of words per day that I need to do 5 days a week. I think it really keeps me committed, and I keep like a running journal where I say I wrote this many words today. It just, then at the end of the day I can write that down. It kind of makes me feel like, okay, I'm good, I'm on track, you know?
Okay, and I think this is something that every writer deals with, and I'm curious how you deal with it. How do you deal with the days where you don't get your word count, or you didn't write anything at all?
That just happens, and I think I don't get down on myself about it. I'm pretty good about saying, okay, it didn't happen today, I'll get back on it tomorrow. I'm trying to remember if while I was writing this, I think there might have been like a week or two where I just wasn't writing and I was just okay with it, and I knew I'd get back on when I was ready. And I think it just comes into your mind. You start thinking about it again, and as soon as you can, if you just get right back on it and not get down on yourself about it, I think is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. So you have 2 other books that you wrote before this one, and I didn't get a chance to really look at them except for the covers, but they seem to be fairly heavy subjects.
Yeah.
And did you feel that the writing process was still kind of therapeutic, or was it more almost like kind of heavier on you, and as far as like instead of writing something kind of light and fun, like romance?
I think the first book, the memoir Stripping Down, was the I think a lot of times writers have like their one main project that they feel like they really need to get done in their life, and that was that book for me. So I worked on that for like 10 years, I think. So I started writing little bits of it, like not knowing what it was going to be, but just writing notes down kind of thing when I was 18. I started then, and then like the main process of writing the book was when I was getting my MFA. So that was a 2-year program, and basically I was just working on the manuscript for those 2 years. And then after those 2 intense years, I spent another year editing and revising. And then, so I'd say that was like a solid 3 years. And I mean, when you're writing memoir, and if you're writing about something that you have to go back into more traumatic type experiences of childhood, it does take a toll. And I mean, that's one of the things about writing memoir, is like you need to have support, because if you get into something and you know you need to write it and it's really hard, you want to make sure that like you're talking to somebody and really kind of working through that, and that you're not getting like stuck in the past. So you got to be like in the right place to do it, I think.
Mm-hmm. So your book is called Beautiful Something Else. That's a very interesting title. Would you mind explaining it?
Sure. I think the book has an underlying kind of theme about what I like about romance novels is when it's not just the romance, and it's not just, oh, the woman finds her man and she's happy, you know? So I wanted my story to be also a story of the heroine learning about herself and really coming into herself. So that was really important to me, that was like the underlying message. So Beautiful Something Else, it's something that the boyfriend, the guy, says something to her when he's trying to describe her, and I just like think of it as something that that women really need to know and understand, that we're all beautiful, and sometimes we're not beautiful in the way we want to be, or the classic beautiful, but we're all beautiful, and then we just need to discover that about ourselves and really kind of hold on to it and live into it.
I think that's a really important lesson, so
Yeah.
it's really great that you put that in there. What age ranges would you say your book is for? Because, I mean, there's nothing too, like, crazy in there.
Yeah. No, this is like a very sweet romance. So, I mean, I think it's good for new like college students. I think like 18 to, the main character is 30. So I think like 18 to 30s, but I'm older than that. So I think, also in the 40s, it might be good to read it just because it's kind of fun and might remind you of the struggles you went through as you were kind of coming into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it's kind of like a little bit of a late coming of age story.
Mm-hmm.
We don't all come of age at 18, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's actually kind of nice because a lot of times the coming of age stories are, for YA audiences.
Right.
And so it's nice to have one for like
Little bit
middle-aged
older.
audiences.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't, we all have our time to come into ourselves, and sometimes it's a little bit later.
Exactly, and that's okay.
Okay, well, again, this is Sheila Hageman, and her book is called Beautiful Something Else, and you can find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all those other online platforms. So I hope you enjoyed this, and join me again next time. Have a great day.
Bye.